Hey guys, this is Perks, and you're watching Thorin's YouTube channel. I would like you guys to appreciate his YouTube channel, even though he talks sometimes so much that not even I can handle it. But most of the time it's pretty funny and entertaining.
Right. I actually so glad you told that story that apparently like everyone was good doing well in Immortals and even the other teams at Cloud9 knew it, etc. Because obviously to a fan, it's like, why does he get signed to Team Liquid when they're making a super team worth $7 million or whatever? But this is why, like, they knew you were good basically already.
I don't know. I mean, I think Cold was there, so Cold worked with me.
Okay.
So probably like he wanted to work with me again. But it was weird. I was the last one to be signed at.
That's a bit weird. If you're making a massive team with loads of money, you'd think you'd bring the coach first.
I mean, it's like. I mean, I don't know. It was kind of like weird that off season, but I think. I mean, they probably got me because of that. Yeah, I guess. But I mean, mostly because of Cold. I don't know. Actually, I never asked why they got me. Actually, I never asked them.
Did they give you like some crazy pitch, like we're going to win LCS and we're going to go to Worlds and we're going to be top 5? Did they give you like a really grand expectations?
I mean, of course, those were the expectations. Like, and I mean, those would be the expectations no matter what. Even when I went to Immortals, my expectations were going to Worlds. Like, but on TL, like the expectation more than winning was to dominate while winning, I guess. Yeah, but I was fine with those expectations. Like, it was probably like the most pressure that I've had, but sure. I was honestly fine with that.
Right, the brutal thing is this, Guilhoto. When I'm looking at the Gamepedia page now, and I look at that roster, it's like it doesn't make sense to my brain. Like, I still think it should win the splits and go to Worlds. Like, it's bonkers. It's like Whippo top lane when he was very good for FNATIC. Thorin was obviously, if people don't know, I wasn't the biggest Thorin fan, but I've heard a lot of mid laners asked for him in their teams, and a lot of people liked him and thought he was very good. Mid lane obviously was Bjergsen. He'd come out of retirement. And then the bot lane was HanSam and CoreJJ. By the way, they're still two of the best players now. Like, they're in the top Western team. Yeah. That lineup on paper is crazy.
Yeah. It is. It is very. I mean, I do think that like it's much more expensive than what it should be, and a lot of the expenses. This like something that because a lot. It's always about like the $7 million, but like let's be honest, a lot of that money is due to image more than.
I mean, put it this way, without spoiling anything, I've heard Bjergsen himself had like I don't know 2.5 or something of it. So it's a lot. Like, it's just the big names, right?
I don't know if it's like. No, but when I say image, I know people are confused. I'm not talking about like because of their name. It's because of their brand, right? Like I think that when you get Bjergsen, and I don't know how much he was getting, but when you get Bjergsen, of course, like you're paying as well for the brand, a lot of for the brand, right? Because it gives you a lot of that money back. So like to me, like part of that money is also related to marketing.
Yes.
But we should have like I think we would have won the spring split if the Thorin thing didn't happen.
Oh sure.
Like the Thorin, the Baron thing, I guess didn't happen. But I think we were like very destroyed mentally after that, and then like we couldn't really come back into the series. And on Summer Split, I think that. I mean, I don't. It's so hard to explain this here, because like it's still so recent. So I don't know like how much in depth I can go. Like there were a lot of internal issues as well. Like to me, that year there was blame from everyone. Right. There was blame from me. There was blame from Team Liquid and their leadership. There was problems from the players. There was problems from like other outside factors. But at the end of the day, I was fine with not staying at Team Liquid because it's my responsibility that the team didn't make it to Worlds and didn't win the split. And it was once again very important lessons that I took, and I'm a better coach because of it. It was, as I said, the most stressful year that I had. But gameplay-wise or like roster-wise, without going into like all these problems that I described, I think the reason why we didn't make it was because our way of seeing League of Legends was too outdated.
Right. And
myself as well, I took a bit to go back, but we were way too passive playing the game. I think that was like the bigger issue. Yeah, I think that was the bigger issue gameplay-wise, outside of like all the other things that happened that ultimately are, in a way, not all, but like a lot of them are my fault. Yeah, I think that like that was one of the most ones.
Right, obviously, as you say, it's up to you what you can say about players, etc. But you can obviously tell me about them as players to work with and what they're like in the game and what they want to do, etc. Right, I always think the other reason why people are really brutal on this team is, look, here's the problem. I'll put it this way. People know I'm a Jensen fan. So I know I used to be a Froggen fan. So obviously our rival, our enemy is obviously fucking Bjergsen, isn't it? Like he's the other fucking Danish mid laner, etc. Like, so in this scenario, right, even though I did always acknowledge he was the Michael Jordan of fucking LCS. If you ever saw, he not only won all those splits, but he used to be the clutch guy who would always come in the game 4 and game 5 and wreck everyone and do the godlike play that would win you, etc. So he was amazing. But I always like to say this. He did have the year off coaching though. Like he essentially semi-retired, went off to be a coach. I've heard when he was a coach, he even used to play jungle, not even mid or whatever. So it's like when he comes back, look, I don't totally blame Steve in this scenario, right? Because if I've watched this guy win all the fucking titles while me and Jack and all the rest of us sit around going, I wish we had him, but we can't because he's on TSM and everyone knows him and Reggie. You can never get him out. If I get the chance to sign him, you have to. In that scenario, you actually have to sign that player. It's like if you can sign Ronaldo after fucking Real Madrid. Of course you do it. Of course you do, because you want to get all that success. You want to win. But it doesn't feel to me this year like I saw the real Bjergsen. Do you know what I mean?
He also had a lot of wrist issues throughout the year. I think that it hurt as well the amount of solo queue that he could play.
Right.
I think he tried really hard at the start to go back to his level, but then he was seeing not only the Team Liquid physiotherapist, but also a personal one.
Right.
And like, of course, that hurts a lot because like when you had a year, but then there's something physiologically that is stopping you from giving your best. Of course, it hurts your recovery, and we did lose 2 times game 5.
Yep.
And if we would win any of them, we would go to Worlds, and maybe like this wouldn't be as big of an issue. But I wouldn't say that. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think there was like the best version of Bjergsen, nor the second best. Probably not the third one as well. But it was still Bjergsen in the sense of like the leadership that he had was still present. But just like me, just like a lot of the other players, I think his version of the game was also a bit outdated. And like at the end of the day, there were some teams that were more aggressive and that would push leads more than us, and that were more clutch than us, and we just couldn't really surpass them. Like that team is always going to be a big mystery for me, because it's hard to pinpoint one thing. I think there's like 20 different things that contributed to it all together. But once again, like I managed those 20 things to reach to the team, so it's on me.
Right.
And that's how it's always going to be, you know? That's how it's always going to be. It's always going to be on me that year.
Hans Sama this year famously tanked his stock because after Rogue, everyone was really high on him. If people don't know, it's true. G2 wanted him. Like there was a lot of big teams wanted this guy. Everyone in Europe pretty much. And then obviously the joke is after this, when he went back to G2, well, you've seen it. He just racks up fucking titles and he's been the best AD, a bunch of splits. But what's very interesting is from doing interviews with people who've played with him, they told me something really interesting about this guy, which is that they said that essentially this is apparently why this year wasn't as good in TL. They said he was the guy where his whole vision of the game was like, I want to smash the lane. I want the game to basically end in 20 minutes. I want to just go through lane, like focus on, let's get the kills, let's get the edges, get the push, and then we're going to just do the fights early. And there's never going to be some, 5v5 at 38 minutes. It's like the game's just going to be over at 22 minutes. We're going to group on the mid wave, we're going to group around the map. And essentially it was implied to me, first of all, like maybe the environment was different than what he was used to, but also like TL didn't play that way. I mean, as you're saying, it was kind of the old school. It was like, and people know in the LCS, a lot of people were just 5v5 mid to late game, right? That's kind of how people played. What do you say to this?
I mean, I think that it was it was a meta where you kind of could dominate, and we were trying to dominate a lot the lanes, but you would also need a mid jungle that would facilitate that, and I think that our mid jungle was not the best at facilitating just like pure snowballs bot. There was also a period where our bot lane was legit just not winning lanes due to a multitude of factors. I remember that once we came back from our boot camp in Korea, we lost one game and Hans was a bit down, a bit kind of like...
Already gets a bit emo.
Yeah, he got a bit emo, and after that he had like a couple of weeks where he wasn't really playing at his best. Then I think that like middle of spring split, Steve also took the drafts away from me, and then it was Hex Defender that he was drafting, and he was much more believer of scaling. So Hans was started to playing some Seraphine and some Kog'Maw and more of the scaling picks. So it was so many different factors. But overall, to me, Hans, like, he was also not the best Hans. There was also some things outside of the game that happened to him that did not allow him to be the best Hans. But once he's back with, especially like with Isma, which is the sports psychologist of G2, that worked with him as well in Rogue, and that worked with him as well as Misfits, I think that and I talked to him throughout the split. I just couldn't like help him as much as, or even close as much as he can help Hans. I think that he can bring so much more out of Hans that anyone in the world can, because they just understand really well each other when it comes to performance. So I think that he also has a good impact on Hans, and just the fact that Hans is in Europe also makes it much better to him, I think.
One of the biggest shocks to... Oh, but actually, I just realised I should definitely ask you about what you just said there. What the fuck? You join a team, Team Liquid, one of the biggest teams in the world. They're saying, oh, we're going to go... I've even heard the whole point of that team was it's going to go to Worlds, and it's like my chance to do everything and win Worlds and all that jazz. Millions of dollars spent on the roster, and they take control away of the drafts in split one. What the fuck? If you join that team...
It was in summer split.
Oh, summer. But even so, though, like in that scenario, like I'm sure you agree with me on this, right? If I do something in life, Guilhoto, if I fail, yeah, that can happen. Maybe I don't want it to happen, but at least I'll fail doing what I want to do. I'll do my idea.
Yeah.
And if I fail, then I'll live with it. But one thing I can't handle, mate, is if someone told me, do this, I do it and I fail, and then they go, you failed. I go, you told me to do that. Like, so
I mean, that
must bother you, all right?
Nah, that pissed me off a lot, yeah. But at the end of the day, like, I wasn't getting I'm not going to say no to Steve, right? Like, it's just, maybe I should have, but I'm not going to say no to Steve. And like, but I remember that, like, even in that time, drafts were getting criticized, and like, I remember that, like, I would always go to the Team Liquid Discord after every defeat, or after every game, and I would answer questions to the fans, because like, I think that when it's a team that has a big fan base, it's my responsibility to like it's not a press conference, but something like that, where I give them the opportunity to direct the negativity towards me, you know? And even on the period where I'm not doing drafts, I would still like kind of answering as if I am, just because I want the negativity to be directed towards me. But I think that in that split, I did that too much, and since the negative was coming from so many places, I felt like I got affected as well. And that, to me, is the biggest mistake that I did, was that, like, I didn't take care of me enough, that split. Right. I think that was, like, the worst thing that I did, because the expectations were so high, I guess, where, like, winning was not enough, but that I put so much work in that split that then, like, I'm not getting good enough sleep, I'm not getting good enough rest. So all these things affect me more, and since I didn't take care of myself well enough, then I was letting this affect me a lot. It was like not an easy period, but it wasn't because of the fans. To be fair, like, it's kind of weird, but even throughout that situation, the fans were kind of awesome.
I mean, put it this way, nice. Fan bases are different. Like in general, I have noticed, look, I'm not just going to only hate on TSM, but they don't exist anymore, so who gives a fuck? But TSM fans are way worse. The difference is I always thought Cloud9 and TL fans were actually fairly chill. It's, but yeah, they can get annoyed at stuff if they lose, of course, but it's not the same. It ain't the same, in my opinion.
No, I mean, to me, it's like they were very supportive until the end. Obviously, there's always like the ones that are really upset, and they are upset with a reason, but every time that I would go there and ask questions, they would try to be as respectful as possible, and I really appreciate that for them. And like, to be fair, like I said that, like, of course, like a couple of decisions. This wasn't the only one that Steve was making. I wasn't in agreement, but like, and I told him like after we split ways, I will always be thankful to Steve, and I will never like hold any grudge. Like, he gave me an opportunity of a lifetime of learning a lot from this roster, because whether it's Bjergsen on his prime or not, or Core on his prime or not, the amount of things that I can learn from these two, I'll always take for life. It's by far the best organization that I've been in terms of like facilities, installations, what they provide to the players, what they were providing to me. So like, I don't want people to think that what I said, it means that I don't like Steve or I don't like Team Liquid. Like, I love the fans, I love the org, I really like Steve. I just disagreed with some decisions, and that's just normal, you know. It's just like, I'm never gonna agree with every decision that is made. I respected all of them, but like, even though it wasn't successful that year, I've seen and learned so many good things in Team Liquid, and I'll always be thankful to him and to Dodo that gave me the opportunity to be with them for 1 year.
I have to ask about CoreJJ, because at this time he'd already been like multiple time MVP, he's a champion. Obviously he won fucking Worlds in Samsung years earlier. But I have heard, this is the interesting detail, it wasn't just this year, dude. If people notice, it's only really like recently in Team Liquid he got really good again. Like, it seems like something came back like maybe even this year in this squad. Because actually, if you go back, he had a few years where he was just kind of a bit off. And the reason why I want to ask this is, I've heard he's another player where behind the scenes, like, they say the hype is real. Like, I've heard literally that people even in the LCS, his nickname that players would call him was like Picasso, because he was just like a genius what he was doing in front support, and essentially they had no fucking clue what he was doing. They were like, how can a support, you know where to be and go and get the catch and be in the bush and the ward and then know to do this lane? So give me some thoughts on this player, because clearly something happened to him.
Amazing, and I will, like, not only as a player, he was like the only player that I would stay up sometimes until like 5 a.m. discussing games from LCK and LPL. Because like in Europe, it's in the morning, right? But like in NA, it's around like 3. It started at like 1 a.m., I think. And we would stay sometimes until 5 a.m. discussing the game. So it was just a brainstorm for me, like every single time. So like the way that he sees the game and the way that he thinks of the game is so dynamic, and it's so spontaneous, that makes him, in my head, the best engager that I've ever seen, the best flanker that I've ever seen. I mean, that I've ever coached, not that I've ever seen. Sorry, Keria. But not only that, Core will always be super special to me because his wife and my wife were really close during that year. So I had the chance to stay in NA after Team Liquid. The reason why I didn't stay and I preferred the RLs, I mean, even though I was kind of stupid and rejected like an LEC offer that I shouldn't have, was because my wife was not allowed to receive money in America, and she has a master's degree, and like I obviously wanted her happiness. But the year on Team Liquid, like, she was our Core's wife was basically the one that did the most company and made my wife the happiest during the time in NA. So more than in-game, Core will be always very special to me because of how the relationship between the four worked out. And if Mithy was a captain, CoreJJ is like a fucking general. Okay. When it comes, like, unlike Mithy, he will not be in shame to admit no, I will micromanage everyone, and like if they are doing something wrong, I'll tell them where to be in order for us to win the game. It's so insane. But I think he works better with rosters like this, where people listen to him more. I think that our team did not listen to him enough in game.
Too many
there
big
was too much,
names.
Yeah, too much veteran. I wouldn't say egos, but it's more like the veteran.
Yeah,
the veteran side. Like it's harder to listen. It's harder to follow faster. Yes. Let's put it this way.
But as you say there, I mean, I was going to ask the other question the other way, but I guess that makes sense. Why do you keep turning all these fucking offers down? Why do you turn down an LEC offer?
I mean, I'm so stupid. I'm coming for an A, and I'm like, this offer doesn't look that big money. So then me and my agent try to renegotiate it, and on that, the offer falls down. And then, unlucky.
Okay, that wasn't like a big drop. I mean, to go from fucking LCS and potentially go to Worlds to I'm in the ERLs again. That's like that could be a big ego hit, or you lose part of your identity. Was it not a big deal?
It was my first year. Like, and this is part of my growth, right? And now I'm like, and I can talk very freely with, for example, Xerxes, that was with me in Giants as well. Like in Giants, I was very frustrated with life. Like I was very frustrated because I was used to a different level. I was like making sure that my frustration was passing and I was not holding them in, and I was a very different person. But fortunately, I managed to surpass it and accept it, and I think I'll be back to LEC next year. Almost sure that I'll go back to LEC next year, which like means a lot, and it was only possible because I managed to leave that frustration behind. I'm back at winning. I won the trophy again. I won the coach of the split, even though it's just Spain. It's still a competition that I want to win. I won the coach of the split again. We are in New Masters. We're about to make it to playoffs in New Masters, and our aspirations is to win New Masters as well. Like, I just want to go back and compete at a high level. You know what it also was, Thorin? That like people don't really think too much about this, but like once my kid was born, so he's 4.5 months. Once I knew Joanna was pregnant and I was going to be a father, first thing that I did is I instantly stopped smoking. I was a smoker for 10 years and I stopped. And after that, I came to a different like level of commitment and focus, because like my kid needs to see me win. And like now what I do is like I need to win LEC for my kid. And it meant so much to me that I won LVP, and then I managed to do it, even though it's 4 months and he probably won't remember. He has a photo with me and my wife on my trophy, you know, and people don't, like whoever is not a father, I think will never understand this, that how important it is for me to do it for him. He's my big motivation now, you know. It gave me like a new life that now I just like, if I get the LEC chance, I know that I'm going to be 10 times better than what I was before, and that like I will not get away until I win LEC. It's so hard to explain, but I really, really hope that that everyone that sees this has the opportunity to experience fatherhood and understand what I'm saying. Sorry, I went a bit off topic, but
no, it's good.
Yeah.
By the way, one thing I noticed in your career, and actually I'll just use the obvious example, it's actually very similar to what a lot of great football coaches do. So I'll actually use Mourinho, because obviously he's Portuguese as well, which is, if you notice, right, it's not what a fan might think. They don't just go to a big club and go, right, what's like the best player? Just get me this guy. What they often do is they bring people who are in past teams with them. And what they do is, it's clear to me every time this happens that means like they either have a good working relationship with that person, or that they just think that person like fits a specific thing they want. Like, I want this jungler to be like that, or he can do that for me in like a support player or whatever. And so if people look at your career, like you with the Antonio again, Cersei was with you in North America, Destiny was with you. You seem to take people along with you as well. So is this something about like once you get a connection with someone, you don't want to swap them out for some reason?
I mean, usually to me, it's about like having a base. You know, it's like, for example, to me in North America, I knew Xerxes and Destiny, but like the Americans, even though I was scouted and I have trust in my scouting, like it's still a flip, you know. And so was Raze, because like Raze was like our fourth option on AD carry or something like this. But it's still like it's a flip. But to me, it's like if I have the basis, like if my jungle support worked with me before, it gives me so much more freedom to focus on the others and to focus on like helping them join what my jungle support know. In that case, it just makes my work very easily. And to me, Xerxes, it's like he's another one that I think deserves another LEC shot, because he's so fucking. It's so unfair that I'm able to play LVP with this guy. It's just so unfair. Like, we had the second fastest finals in LVP because this guy is just like an orchestra, you know. He's just like fucking enemy jungler in the ass in a way that is like legit Pornhub material. Sorry, my language, but
oh, it's all good.
and yeah, but it's basically because of that. I just want to have like a basis to build around and someone that understands how I see the game, and yeah, and like make it easier than me getting to know everyone. Because in esports, the teams end in 1 year. So like if I can keep the base and just like surround them with I guess like bets that we do, in my head it makes more sense.
You have one player on this current Heretics team, which I think it is mental he is in the ERLs, mate, which is Jackspektra. It's like, I want to tell people, bro, did you guys not watch him when he was on Heretics? Like, he was good. He was carrying some of the games. Like, obviously their team wasn't good, which is why they lost. And by the way, I don't know if you know these people, I don't give a fuck, I'm Thorin. Their solo leaders were fucking trash. He had Evie and Ruby at the same time. Like, bro, between them, they play like 2.5 champions. And so what do you want him to do? He's supposed to 1v9 for fucking ADC. I think that guy's good. And look, he's kind of shown it now in Heretics, hasn't he, in the LVP?
No, he's insane. He's really, really good. He's for sure better than a lot of the AD carries that are in LEC right now. And I remember I tweeted this once, but people don't understand how much the environment of a team can influence the way that a player plays, especially a rookie. It's very different if you're Yike and your teammates are now Caps and Hans and
sure.
like they are used to win every time, and you're joining a winning culture. Then you're like Zoelis, and even though you did a really good split in LFL, you're joining a team full of NPC players. NPC to me, it means that like they do nothing on the map. Rogue is like a team that does nothing, right? And you come from like LDLC, that was a team that was perma fighting, and now you join this team, and like everyone is mad at each other. You're perma losing. You're like, you guys don't do anything. 10th place or 9th, 10th place, 3 splits in a row. You're going to look like shit and you're not going to develop. And with Jackspektra, it was kind of similar in the way that like their team, I mean, this is like, I talked to him about it, right? But like that year they had no discipline, no organization, no rule sets in place. Environment was terrible, no motivation. Mersa that would take like 1 hour to go, 1 hour and a half to go home, 1 hour and a half to go to the office, would only be in the office on those times, would not hang up with anyone. And like, as a rookie, you have this environment and your development is going to be shit, your mood is going to be shit, and you're going to play worse than your ability. It's like, this is part of performance. This is what like performance coaches and coaches in general should aim to do, is to try to build the best environment so that the performance can be as high as possible. And the audience, a lot of the times, will never consider this because they never see this. They only see how they perform on stage.
What about in your career? do you feel like, because I feel like, again, you're actually going to get yourself put in the category with those Alfari and Nukeduck and Upset, where they're like, well, they didn't win the trophy, so how can he be that good? But all I'll say is, you put it on your Twitter. By the way, that's how I know you've actually leveled your fucking game up with branding now, whereas before you were being an idiot and just thinking if you're coaching the game, that does it all. If you haven't learned from some of the other people out there, there's even people I think are shit coaches, but I tell you what, they're good on the fucking mic and they know how to put a tweet out there, you know. You've nailed it now. I'll even read the way you've written it. You just put... 2-time coach to the split LEC, 1-time coach to the split LCS, 1-time coach to the split LVP. That sounds sick. That makes it like, you know, was everyone wrong? Surely I am a good coach. I have to be, right?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't really give a shit what people think about me. Like, I really don't. I will always try to prove people with hard work. And like the only people that I care what they think about me is the players that I worked with, about like the importance that I had. And when the feedback from CoreJJ, Mithy, Nukeduck, Xerxes, Alfari is positive, like what is Johnny 325 gonna tell me that like this world champion?
Of course,
you know, like it's just. I'll be patient. I'll do my best at any time. I'm trying to transmit that to my players as well, because I have 5 players very eager to make it back to LEC. And like I always tell them, like I learned throughout my experience that this anxiety of making it is going to be my number one enemy of not making it. So I'll always give my best at any point, and if whoever has to hire me thinks that I'm good enough for the job, go ahead. If they don't think that I'm not good enough for the job, then I'll just do it one more year and prove them again. Like I heard a lot of comments, like when I joined the Heretics, that finally the Heretics would stop winning, that this would go to shit and stuff, and we have the fastest game times of I believe all major ERLs. We have the biggest goal differences. We have the second fastest finals on LVP. So like this is how I'll show. Like it's not about, like I'll put that on my bio because I'm proud of it. But like those people are not the ones that I need to prove. And I don't want to be in the same category as Nukeduck and Alfari. I want to be in the category that I won. I'm not retired yet like them.
Yeah.
From the player position, I will win.
Let me ask you about this then, because that was one thing that I'm actually very glad to hear about, because I was going to do that thing like, oh, you're underrated, they didn't give you... But actually, the cool thing is, I was also going to say, it's like there's symmetry in it. Like, you started out with winning Spain, now you've won Spain again. Like, oh, is that the end? Like, for you, there's a whole new chapter, though. I mean, as you say, in some ways, like, now you have a new lease on life because you have your kid, right? It's another reason to want a bigger legacy than this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I will win LEC. Like, just watch me. I'm Perks now, okay? Watch me.
Okay.
Like, I will. It's going to happen.
I've got one player still I want to ask about in this lineup, though, for Heretics, and it's obviously the mid laner Sertuss, because everyone who watched last year, if you saw SK, obviously he was on SK Gaming, wasn't he? And if you go and watch this player, this is one of those players where I'm actually getting bored of this happening now, Guilhoto. Yeah, there have been some players who went from ERLs to LEC and they weren't good. That's true, right? And some of them did get kicked out. They should have been. But there's also players where they go, and it's not that they're not good. It's that they're not like a polished player yet. They're just like, you know, they're a bit raw. And this is definitely a player that's like that, mate. Because here's the thing. He didn't do what the players that are the bad ones do, which is they come up, they're good for the first 2 weeks, and then they just drop off and they get kicked after 1 split or 2. I actually thought he was getting better towards the end. And if you ever watch this guy, his main problem, I would say, was he could only like carry or do nothing, if you know what I mean, or like fuck up. It's like he was really up and down. But I tell you what, if he carried. Like he actually had a whole bunch of games he carried against the best teams. So give me your thoughts on this player.
He actually always says that he has a better win rate against Caps and Humanoid than against like Niski or like, because I mean, I don't know, against those he would win a bit more. I think he's a player that needs to find his consistency, especially in lane. I think like he has the talent to be back in LEC for sure, and I think that the split that he did in LEC was good. And what he's working on now is like more of that more of that like consistency, not having low so low in the sense of like it's not that he's gonna int, but his impact will be, sometimes he will carry the game, like, and when he carries the game, he's 1v9 on that game, not only carrying it, but sometimes he's like fully dependent on the team to win the game for him. So now it's about like trying to find that balance where his impact is always positive, and like just have those outliers where it's really, really positive. And I think he's improving a lot on that. But this split was also very demanding for a mid laner, I think. Like every week a new mid laner is appearing, and it's usually an AD carry. It started with only Tristana,
sure.
Then Corki was remade, and then it's like Corki Tristana, but then Zeri is good into Corki, so then Zeri appears, and then Ezreal's a flex, and now Lucian is being played as well. So it's like it's a lot of new champions for him to learn, and now Aurora is out, so he has to learn Aurora. But then in the middle of all of this, Tristana was nerfed, so some teams started to playing Azir, so maybe he has to go back to Azir. But it's like it's a demanding split for a mid laner, but I think he's doing quite well. And I think that the way that he plays combined with Xerxes is actually it's a good one for sure.
Was there ever a moment, maybe when you went after TL, you went to the Giants team and you were in those couple of other teams before you got now to Heretics, was there ever a moment where you wondered, like, is this actually it? Is this kind of like the end of the career? You know, if I lose one more time, I'm done, and no one will call, you know, no one will ring the phone, and I'll just have that off season where you don't get the offer? What did you ever think? Did you ever have that moment?
No, I never thought of quitting. There's still like, I will never quit until I do two things. I still miss to do two things in my career. And like once I do those two things, maybe I'll think of retiring. But one is I have to win LEC. Not LCS. I have to win LEC. Period. Preferably, I have to win LEC, preferably not in G2.
Oh, to make it even more special, right?
Yes. And the second one is I need to make it out of groups with the Brazilian team.
Fucking hell, that's out of nowhere. Okay, where did that come from? What? Why?
So I have this idea where, so I'm Portuguese, right? And I want to coach in Portuguese, and I want to coach a Brazilian team of 5 Brazilian players.
Ah, I see. Right.
I want to coach in Portuguese, and I want to make it special.
And the logic is, if there's enough players in Brazil, you could potentially find enough that might be good.
Yeah.
Right? I see what you mean, right?
Yeah. And I want to like leave groups.
Wait a minute. The plan also is to take a Brazilian team, get in the main event, and make it to the playoffs of Worlds. This is ridiculous.
Sorry. Okay, maybe that's like too much. If I make it to groups, it's good.
Yeah, just make the main event. Hey, this is the system. There you go.
Making it to groups. Yeah, I think that's like okay.
Okay, right. I was going to say that's a bit ambitious.
That's kind of what I mean. That's kind of what I meant. What I meant is like making it to groups, because I think it's been a long, long time since.
They've never done it. If you notice, if you ever listen to our talk shows, every time we ever do like one of those previews for a big event and we bring a Brazilian, I always say to them, it actually doesn't make sense that Brazil has never ever done anything except the Kaboom upset years ago. Because if you ever look, their league was fairly developed early. They had the imports. They've even had loads of players that are veterans and won like the fucking CB Lolik 8 times and stuff. But somehow it just never came together. Right? Never happened.
But think about it. Like you follow a lot of the other esports, right? So you know, like Brazil in CS:GO. I mean, not anymore, but.
They're still good though. They've still got good players.
Yeah, but there was a time that they were like.
Yeah, they've had their time where they were the best.
What was it? What was the roster?
SK Gaming, Luminosity, Fallen, and all those guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like those teams are like insane. And in my head, the advantage, and in a lot of other sports, Brazil is esports. I mean, Brazil is really good, but in League for some reason they're trash. So the reason why I also want a five Brazilian. Roster is because I really think that the reason why they were so successful in those esports is because of like their emotional play. You know, they are very like fired up, like insanely fired up. And I think when the whole team is like that, that's a strength. So I kind of want the team to be like that, if that makes sense.
No, I know what you mean, because obviously they always have an import, don't they? They always have some other guy from another region,
Yeah, just like legit, just like. You kill someone and stand up and tell something about like their mom or some shit. Yeah, you know, like that in CS:GO is like, you know, I want that energy. You know, I think that like that energy will elevate it a bit.
Wait there a second. There's one more thing I needed to ask. Oh, that's it. Based on what you're saying, if you notice, I'll tell you another obvious reason. I'm sure you must be aware of this. In this interview, a theme that has emerged that makes it very obvious as to why you haven't won championships and why you've had a lot of close misses is because you try to take the fucking hard route every time. You don't want to just like get the easy path. For some weird reason, you have to challenge yourself, right?
I mean, Team Liquid wasn't really challenging myself.
Maybe that one, but the other ones, though, yeah.
Yeah, other than that, yeah, for sure.
I mean, not many people turned out FNATIC once or twice, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it was a weird turning out. It was like the first one, as I said, I thought it was really important for me to be on stage, and FNATIC couldn't really offer me that. And the second one, it was just like, I don't know, it was like I couldn't be waiting for them for so long that like the other offer would disappear, you know. So like, I mean, to be fair, if that offer would have come earlier than the deadline, I would probably have accepted that offer.
Well, I've got a good question along these lines then, because you've actually set it up by saying you're not going to join G2, so it takes away the cheat answer. The obvious question I have for you is there like a player, LEC would be perfect, that you've never coached you'd like to work with? Obviously everyone else would just say Cap, so who else is it? Who would you pick?
Okay, but I've already coached this player. Is
it going to be Upset again?
No, Razork.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, okay. I mean, he is amazing now, like.
This guy's crazy good.
What do you think? Because here's the thing, I keep trying to tell people, we've actually reached the level, if you watch enough FNATIC games, where, like, forget this idea of, like, he's one of the best Western... Dude, I actually think if the... look, this FNATIC team's probably not good enough, but I think he can fuck some Koreans up, mate. He looks really good.
Razork, yeah. And he's insanely smart. I think he's becoming quite smart. And one thing that he was missing that we could see from like the videos and stuff, he's becoming a leader. And I think he's entering this 10 years ages where he's still really good, really creative, but he's also a veteran now. You know, with like the mental stability of a veteran or the leadership stages of the veteran. And I think for the next 3 years around that, it's like legit his prime. It's going to be his best years, and I would love to win a championship with him as well. Because I remember that I took him to the first tournament that he was ever in, which was a tournament in Portugal with Giants, and he fell off the stage with his share, and like he was 16, super nervous and stuff like this, and now look where he is right now. So I just, yeah. If there was one player, I think it would be, right now it would be him. I'm trying to think if I forgot someone.
That's a pretty good one.
But probably not, yeah. I think Razork would be it, yeah.
And then I have one other question, which goes like this. Since you've coached so many people, and if you notice in this interview, you've coached a lot of people that have like weird narratives or people think they're not good or something. So what I want to know is this. Who do you actually think is the most underrated player you coached?
Underrated. I mean, Alfari is rated pretty high. Core is rated pretty high. Repo is rated
I mean, from this interview, it feels like it might be Sertuss.
It might be, yeah.
Mix, right?
It might be.
Because I feel like his problem is because if I would end it in XL, I feel like people don't want him in LEC again, you know?
Yeah. It might be. I mean, if it's...
Who else could it be?
No, I think it's probably Xerxes, yeah. Right?
Sounds like
because I think a lot of them are like rated well,
at least
right?
Pretty high, yeah. At least pretty high, yeah.
I mean, I was thinking maybe Chachi, but I think Chachi, like from the years that he was playing really well, he was rated as like the best player, one of the best players. So
yeah.
Didn't he get the fucking MVP?
Yeah. Yeah, he was
hyped,
yeah.
So I think Xerxes, yeah, actually, yeah. I think Xerxes.
Okay, at the end of this interview, do you have a final message? I mean, you sort of said it, but you can give more if you want. Do you have anyone you want to say hello or thank you to?
I mean, I said it already. First of all, thank you to you, Thorin. I think that this segment is great, having something like this that stays forever, where it tells my story so far. I'm very thankful of it, but it's just half of it. Once I win LEC, we'll have to do it again.
Okay. Obrigado.
Thank you, Thorin.
Everyone needs a support network, and mine is, of course, my Patreon community, the Scrominati, who, in many ways, they're the Sonny to my Cher, saying, I got you, babe. So this video and all the others on my channel were kindly supported by the following names: Ahmed Hadju, Mac Pugnaccio Rakula, Adam Tomlin, Animosity, Jensen Go, Tosh, Toucan, and you know it. Jerky's Minion, my main man, always going to be referenced, one of the best patrons of all time. Would you like to ask a question in my AMA? Maybe you want to suggest a topic or a guest to say on my channel? Do you want teasers? Find out who the upcoming Reflections and Talk to Thorin interviews are. Maybe you want to do one of those long discussions where you get to set the topics we talk about. Well, if any of these or others appeal to you, put your money where your mouth is. Join the Scluminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.